is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I represent Bahamian people. I from Nassau, Bahamas, big up Baytown, bro. Boy, I from Baytown, bro. Right between West and Augusta, where them two roads meet, they call it Wilkinson Street. Manners and respect was like a sign blank check. It seems the ones that coming after quick to disrespect. You see, this life in the ghetto never easy. So many hungry days break till it grieve me. But I doing the best I can, trying to turn my dollar to a...
Good night, Bahamas, and welcome to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. I am your host, Valentino Brown, a.k.a. Scoochie or Scrooge. Our telephone numbers tonight on Guardian Radio are 422-GR96. Hold on, I get it wrong just now. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259, and you can text us, powered by BTC, at 422-GR96. Inside the Inner City is a show that is broadcast live every Friday at 6:30 to 8 p.m. And our topics, community persons who are helping to develop our country, help train, help educate, give scholarships to the less fortunate. We have persons across the country who are doing that type of work, which is humanitarian, and the likes of C.B. Moss, Carlos Reed, and many more who have appeared on the show over the course of the years. We also talk about inner city problems when dealing with police, how we can counteract that by community policing. We also provide a lot of solutions for many of the country's problems. And we talk about programs that we are doing individually that is making an effect on our respective community and country. So inside the inner city also talks about politics because we have a wide extensive history dealing with politics. And today, we're going to piggyback on some of the topics we talked about last week because I had Dr. C. Nuri in studios last week, and many of the topics we talked about on Friday actually came out this week in the newspaper when it comes to Abaco, when it comes to houses and land that is supposed to be distributed to Bahamian people. We also will be talking a little more about remarks from the Prime Minister concerning land and housing, and he's saying that Bahamians of Haitian descent who have become Bahamian citizens are entitled to land according to the Constitution. We want to talk a little bit about that too because we really need to understand what he's trying to say because he really needs to explain certain concept of it. It's A-OK, but there's some things we got to break down and really understand what he's trying to say because we did speak on it last week and we said that many of the houses that are being built illegally, we're not worried about said that is built legal by legal Bahamians of Haitian descent. We're worried about those houses that are being built illegally by illegal immigrants who are not Bahamians living in the country. So I wondering if the land is also provided to them. Okay, we're also going to talk about. Let me see what else. We talked about Abaco, and that's it. That's a lot of topic. So I hope that everyone is having a wonderful time. I want to say to all who take the time to listen to Inside the Inner City that we're here to make the Bahamas a place for all humankind. First of all, I am a Bahamian, but I consider myself a human being. So that means that what do you say, Nuri? When I say I'm a human being, I'm trying to say that even though I'm a Bahamian, but on this earth,
You're a human first.
I'm a human voice.
Yes.
I'm a human voice. All right? And being a human voice, that means you have to consider the fact that there are some things you might change and there are some things that you can change, but may not persecute nobody or trying to stagnate nobody. But we have to speak the facts when we talk today, because I think it's very important we get a good understanding of what's really going on in our country. Because it's election time. And why I'm saying this, because I feel that in desperate times, people make desperate mistakes, and sometimes it could come back to bite us. Okay, so Mr. Nuri, we're going to start off tonight. Okay, I have it written down. I said, let me just write down something today. So tonight we're going to start off with the Prime Minister's remarks saying that if he wins the next general election, if he wins the second term, that he would focus more on the poor. I just like to comment before I get Mr. Nuri on this. First of all, Mr. Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, I think that I'm glad you just realized that you should, from 4 years ago, to really take all the emphasis and really focus on the poor, because you have some very good programs in there, and that's the Overdale Initiative. And I've been a part of it before it switched to the Overdale Initiative. It was called the Urban Design Lab. And according to that research, what led to the Overdale Initiative, the whole goal of the project of the Overdale Initiative was to deal with the poor. When it comes to granting small businesses, whether it's about building low-cost homes, whether it's cleaning up the neighborhoods, whether it's monitoring the streets to make sure that we get rid of all the dialect vehicles and we clean on all the lots that are in these communities. It deals with adding green spaces in the inner city community. And it's also talking about putting constructive programs in the community. So I think it's a great idea. And we said it on the show, I said on the show that if I was the Prime Minister, that I would let someone, the Deputy Prime Minister, run the country, not really run the country, but I'm going to take the portfolio as to go in the communities and on the family islands and build low-cost homes for a growing population of Bahamians in the country. Remember I said it?
Yeah, I hear you. I'm listening.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I said it. It makes sense that the Prime Minister is saying it now. I guess he just realized. But I'd like to give him credit for starting the Overdale Initiative. I want to give him credit for that. But you're saying the second time. So it's a great idea. It's a great idea. It'd be great to see a sitting Prime Minister actually take the mantle as the one to survey the areas, look at the rundown homes, and repair them and build them for those in need. Also, look at the outskirts like in Carmichael Road and build service lots that are very affordable. I think they're $15,000. We also talked about this too, Mr. Nuri. $15,000 on this show. $15,000 per lot for Bahamians. And this is the kind of stuff that we were talking about. So you want to comment, Mr. Nuri? Go ahead.
Thank you once again for inviting me on your show.
Yes.
It's the second week in a row.
Yes.
And I'm always excited and delighted to exchange ideas with you, and especially from an inner city perspective regarding what is important to us and how we relate to our politicians, how we relate socially with each other, and making steps for the new way forward. Right? So you're speaking about the Prime Minister and his recent proposal on what he can do if he is re-elected, right? And I know the Prime Minister means well.
Yes.
I believe that he sincerely believes what he's saying, and I believe that he wants to do well for the Bahamas in general. Like all prime ministers, I believe all of our prime ministers actually come in with good intentions and work towards accomplishing what they have promised. But I remember a statement by the current Attorney General who said that despite having campaign promises, it's not necessary that the government is minded to fulfill them. They don't have to, right? And I have that in the back of my mind when I hear the Prime Minister announce that he proposed these ideas. And then I have it juxtaposed to what the Attorney General said, that it's not necessary that they have to fulfill campaign promises at all, and that they're not minded to fulfill all the campaign promises. So with that in my mind, a promise is a comfortable fool. I have no confidence that any of these things will actually come into play because they are campaign promises to get elected, right?
Desperate measures now.
Yeah, and see, mind you, if he's elected, I'm sure he's going to work on one or two of these things. But that is nothing to get me excited about to go and vote for him for, because I know the nature of promises, campaign promises. That being said, in 2019, the Prime Minister addressed the Bahamian public and said that he is pledging to work and help the poor, right? He made that pledge in 2019 that he is committed to assist them because he used this word, he's a descendant of poor people, whatever that means. He's a descendant of poor people or descendant of poverty, right? So with that commitment, and now we see in 2021, he's saying that he's going to recommit himself, or was not able to fulfill that commitment before.
Kind of mix up.
Yeah, that bothers me. That bothers me because he came in with the plan that it's the people's time. Mm-hmm. The majority of people are working class people. Mm-hmm. So all of his efforts and all of his works should have been concentrated on working class people. So if it wasn't concentrated on working class people, who were they concentrated upon? And see, that is my dilemma. Something is concerning about that for me, the realization of that. And the Prime Minister needs to explain fully what he means regarding that.
Yes.
Right?
He really does.
And also, I have issues with the term poor, and I have because I don't understand what poor means, right? I consider myself working class. I work to pay bills. I go to work and pay bills, but I'm not necessarily poor. Right, because I've experienced poverty living in the city. I've seen poverty.
So you get yourself.
Yes, so I understand where am I and where poverty is, and I noticed that I'm not that. I'm not that. So when the Prime Minister says that he is going to concentrate on the poor, I'm not sure exactly if he meaning me as a working class person, or he meaning the persons who are working below the poverty line, minimum wage. Who doesn't have any place to live, who are indeed indigent and suffering. Is he talking about that, or are he talking about the vast majority of people who are struggling day to day, but making ends meet by paying their bills or barely paying their bills? So that's a different class of people with a different definition and different outcome and different aspirations of what they want to accomplish and how they will be able to survive. And the Prime Minister did not make that clear.
Oh, very good point. And again, our next comment. When there was also on Facebook circulating, there was the Honorable Frankie Campbell was interpreting the Prime Minister's word to a meeting that was held.
At the Church of God, a prophecy for the Haitian congregation.
For the Haitian congregation.
Or Haitian Bahamian. What Haitian congregation?
Because he said something, right? So he did this. And Honorable Frankie Campbell was translating the Prime Minister's word. And the Prime Minister said these same words again, said that he was focusing his attention on the poor. So I'm trying to figure out, see, you come from one end, you're trying to figure out if it's you who's doing a little better than the persons who, when the Prime Minister actually locked down the country and stopped all the work and all employment in the country, and then many persons were sleeping in cars.
Yes.
So I guess you were doing a little better, but those that are actually in poverty.
Yes, poverty. Different type of person,
right? So that's two sets of persons we're talking about, and then we're talking about Bahamians, right? And then Bahamians with Haitian descent in the country. So what I'm trying to say is when he spoke those words, it wasn't for us as Bahamians. It was for us as Bahamians here in the country, but it seems like it was for a specific set of people who are stagnated I don't know. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
I don't know.
It's an excellent point you made.
I don't know.
If you use the statistics about who's below the poverty line, you know that the majority of those persons are persons descended from immigrants, right?
Okay.
And in this scenario, it'd be people of Haitian extract.
Okay.
Right. They are below the poverty line because they live in a underground economy. They live in shanty towns. They don't have access to education, no access to healthcare, no access to proper plumbing and facilities. So we know that there's a large number of them living in shanty town who would be considered the poor and indigent of the Bahamas. Notwithstanding that there are Bahamians who live amongst them also,
Okay.
and notwithstanding that there are Bahamians who suffer the same type of ill living in over the hill communities and family island communities. I'm not dismissing that they do not exist.
And I just like to say,
Go ahead.
I'm not discriminating. I'm just speaking the facts because I'm trying to figure out where the Prime Minister is coming from. He means good on one end, and he speaks like he's trying to.
It's like a double-edged sword. And then when you have a juxtapose that he was talking about Haitian Bahamians or Bahamians of Haitian descent, and then bring this poverty dialogue
in it
with it. So then you have it with the conversation he had, like with the clip that you saw with Frankie Campbell translating again the same narrative, targeting the same people.
Yes,
right,
so.
and again around election time. So it does seem kind of.
Who is he referring to? I mean,
it seems orchestrated, and there's nothing wrong with asking. Who is he referring to? Because he might have been talking about Bahamians of Haitian descent, because it was in that narrative that he was speaking about.
Now, the next point, he said he also made a comment that Haitian national should not be carrying the name as Haitian national. They should be calling themselves Bahamians. I agree with you, Mr. Prime Minister. I agree with you when it comes to the Constitution and when we had independence in 1973. Every citizen who were here in the country 1973, because remember, I wasn't born yet, but I did my research and I listened to the older voices in my community. We were British. Nassau was the part of the British Empire leading up to 1973 when we got independence. During that time, there were a different variety of persons living in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, which we call Nassau before we get to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We had Jamaican nationals, we had Haitian nationals, we had Trinidad and Tobago, Turks and Caicos, and we had a variety of Greeks, we had a variety of Europeans, we had some Romans, we had some Italians, we had all those persons here when this country was called Nassau. Then after 1973, we came up with independence, so-called independence, even though it was independence, but it took us from being a colony state of the British, right, to become Nassau, but become the Bahamas. And during that time, anyone who had their documents living at that time, who was British citizens who were living in Nassau, and then we got independence in 1973, all those persons took their proper documents and they became neutralized as Bahamian citizens. So we was a combined. It was combined of races here, okay? And then we became the Bahamas, okay? And then we became an independent country. So yes, but the thing is, they're Bahamians. I have no problem with those set here. But if any one of the persons who this land supposed to go to, right, has not land in the Bahamas at the airport, okay? Go through the procedure by getting stamped, travel documents, and enter this country and apply for citizenship to become a Bahamian in this country. Hey, I have no problem with that. But if the persons came illegally after 1973, land anywhere in this Nassau, and they are not a part of that voice of grouping of persons who combine to become Bahamians, then you have to say to yourself that they can become Bahamians, But it's up to the Bahamas government to decide if they become Bahamian citizens, because not because you land here after 1973, right? And you grow somewhere in the Shantytown, right? Undocumented, but our authorities didn't do the proper, investigation, or they didn't have the proper policing to find those illegal in the country who did not come through the proper procedures. Hey, who didn't come through the proper procedures? They were last to stagnate in the country, okay? And if they've been here 20, 30 years, I don't see why there's no reason that we can neutralize them. But if anyone is coming in the country illegally, landing in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, anywhere in the country, they're illegal immigrants. They're not Bahamians, okay? And last point I'm going to say, what if the Haitian nationals who come Bahamians use our resources to bring in their Haitian descendants from Haiti to overcrowd our Bahamas? The legal set, who are Bahamians, what if they're using their resources that was provided them from the Commonwealth of the Bahamas or the taxpayers' money, and they use the money and they be sending back to Haiti to get their descendants back here to break the law when they land here, use our healthcare system, our education system, and then they're saying now that they've been here for 20, 30 years, is the Prime Minister entitled to give them land also? I'm not saying they should not, but they're here illegally now. Remember I said who was here in 1973? They're legal. I have no problem. I don't have no problem with their children. They could get all the land in the world. But instead who coming on the sloops, landing in the land after 1973 and unregulated, and then inside the immigration office and stamp, there's no way land can be given out. But if you want to apply and go through all the proper procedure, yes. Go ahead, Mr. Nuri.
There's always fear when there is a scarcity of resources, and you find that poor people tend to fight about over the scarcity of resources, scarce resources. But I want to give this point. You know where Lucky Food Store is?
Yes.
Who owns Lucky Food Store?
Chinese.
I thought Bahamians own that.
Bahamian Chinese.
See, my point is, and
Yes.
I intentionally did that.
Yes.
I intentionally
Yes.
did that, right? You said that you agree with the Prime Minister that they shouldn't be called, and again, for this example, Haitian Bahamians.
I'm saying this in 1973. Who
Yes.
were here first?
Those Chinese have been, I
Who
go
are
to
the
school with them.
brothers? Okay.
So, and you know, I
No problem with them. No problem with them,
clearly-
said.
But are they still Chinese? Yes, they are still Chinese.
They got descendants.
See?
Yes,
No,
yes,
but
yes,
they're
yes. I
still
see where you're coming
Chinese.
from. I'm
My
saying-
point is, they still Chinese.
Yes.
They're Bahamians.
Yes.
So why take away their ethnic
Yes, that's it. Yeah,
personality of
right.
who they are? That they cannot eat Chinese food and they cannot
That's right.
speak Mandarin or Cantonese
Right.
and be who they are.
You're trying to say-
See, I find that in this narrative, the
This is a
prime-
slap in the face to them also.
Yes, it's insulting that we do this to black people.
Yes, it's insulted to them also. That's what I'm getting at.
The idea is that we have a segment of our population.
Yes.
In fact, 33%, some people say, that's a lot. So when
Correct.
you say a third of $400,000, 400,000 people, that's over 30 odd thousand people living in the Bahamas speaks Creole. 33% or 30% of our population dance a particular way to that juk music, and I don't know what it's called, right?
Yes.
Third of our population eat griot, right?
I eat griot too. I love
see,
griot. I love
And a
griot.
third of our population, legume, whatever, how they pronounce that too, right? Why take away their culture and say you cannot eat legume no more, you cannot speak Creole no more, you cannot be what you were told you were for 20 odd years anymore because now you're Bahamian? Why can't we be mature enough and say that you're a different type of Bahamian? See,
Makes sense.
And
It makes
I
sense.
give an example.
You
When
make
I
sense.
was away in school,
You make sense, my brother.
when I was away in school,
You make sense.
I went to a Caribbean centered college, business college, right? And one of the Haitian ladies who was attending the school with me approached me, and she started to speak Creole. And of course, I said, Miss, I don't know Creole. We had a large Bahamian contingent, and of course, she got offended. She said, man, you do not speak Creole. they speak Creole in the Bahamas. I know Bahamians, they speak Creole in the Bahamas. So, and I remember the other Bahamians got upset and irate and angry. How dare you accuse us of speaking Creole? You mean the Haitian don't speak Creole? And she said, no, these weren't Haitians I spoke to. These were Bahamians that I spoke to, and they speak Creole. And of course, I interjected because, I come from an inner city where we have a mixture of culture, Haitians, Jamaicans,
she know that.
whatever it is. So I interjected and tried to explain what was happening. We have a portion of our population that does speak Creole. They are Haitian Bahamians.
Yes, you're right.
You see how important the name is now?
Yes, it's very important.
Right?
It
Because
is.
now it explains the origin of these people.
That's right.
So when persons abroad saying, but everyone I know from the Bahamas eat griot, I can actually explain, say, yes, we have Bahamians of Haitian extracts who immigrated to the Bahamas. There's a large segment of them still, but they are not, for lack of a better word, the indigenous people there. And they are a subsection of the Bahamas, but we appreciate it because they contribute to our Junkanoo. Because no one loves Junkanoo much
the whole
as the Haitian. The whole Saxon. They speak Creole. Some people would say, I remember there was a joke running around that everybody in Abaco is Haitian, even the white population there, because of how much mixing and how much Haitians there. Right? And so we need to learn to appreciate the differences amongst us so that you can be Bahamian and Haitian at the same time,
don't hurt nobody.
without hurting anybody. So when I hear the Prime Minister say, no, you cannot be Haitian Bahamian, you got to be Bahamian, I don't agree, because you could be both.
Yes.
Because when I lived in the United States, I was a Bahamian living there. You don't take that away from me.
No.
I kind of stopped being Bahamian because I become naturalized in the United States. I am a Bahamian living there, and as a Pan-African, right, and have Pan-African views, I call myself a African having a Bahamian experience, right? Because I'm African. You can look at me and you can see I'm
glad you said that.
Igbo. You can see that I'm Igbo, right? But I am African and Bahamian at the same time, and I have no problem with sharing that and celebrating both. Whilst there are other ethnic groups, because I have a lot of Greek friends. Right? You never hear anyone say they can't be called Greek Bahamians, right? And they've been in the country for 100 years.
And Bahamians.
We ain't talking about the Haitians who been here for 10 and 20 and 30 years.
We're talking about the Greeks
who been here for 100 and odd years, and they still Greek.
That's why I'm trying to explain to the Bahamian people.
So
it was not just us here, it was Greeks.
So why would our Prime Minister diminish the Africans who are Haitians, but don't diminish the Greeks and say, well, you're Greek. You all can't be Greek no more. You all have to be Bahamian only. Take that Greek word. Stop going to that Orthodox Greek church. You got to become. Stop eating that bakla food
or the lamb
and that lamb.
Yeah.
You know, eat crab and rice only.
Uh-huh.
You know. So I said we need to be more open minded.
Yes.
But I wanted to make this point, and
go ahead, Nuri.
That I am concerned about the narrative of, especially during this political time, that we can give access to land to people who live in the shanty town, who've been living illegally in the shanty town, and who are descendants of immigrants, who undocumented immigrants. The properties that the Prime Minister is offering as his political promises needs to be offered to Bahamian.
Yeah.
I don't care where you originate from. Once you have the passport and
everything legit, and you're legit.
So we just don't need to mention the word Haitian
no more. Just Bahamians.
But see, the idea that he mentioned the term Haitian in that narrative means that he was intentionally being political. And there's no need for that, because you know that it causes an angst amongst us Bahamians, especially poor Bahamians who are fighting.
Divide.
Yes, he caused a divide in his narrative, and it's unfortunate. I know he didn't mean it. He didn't mean to do such.
He just trying out.
But it caused a divide, and it was an unnecessary divide because the land is for Bahamians. I'm assuming that he don't ask for to prove that you're Bahamian, besides you bring your passport and say apply. So there's no need to mention the word Haitian inside that narrative when he explained the property.
Sorry we missed you. The producer stepped out for a second. He's in studio now, so if anyone want to make a call on comment, you can. Or we get him back. So we're going to take this call for a few minutes. Go ahead, caller. You're on Inside the Inner City.
Good night. Just want to make a point. I listened to C.A. Uri. I would like to make a point before I, just cut so abruptly.
Go ahead.
I'm listening to as he try to explain exactly or give his take on the Prime Minister's comment. When we look at what is happening here with immigration, we have basically every nationality on planet Earth living at some point in time in the Bahamas right now.
Yes.
But every time we talk immigration, why has the conversation, or why is the conversation always shift towards the Haitian, and it becomes an immigration issue? What we have here and we're dealing with. I mean, we have every other nationality living here in the Bahamas. You don't hear the Cubans talking. You don't hear the Filipinos. You don't hear... I mean, we can go on and on and on and on and on. We have an immigration problem here. And as we continue to hijack it by equating it to just Haitians, we would defeat the purpose of what we're really trying to accomplish here. And that is, anyone coming into the Bahamas must first clear customs and immigration so we can get some taxes.
Yes.
That's the bottom line.
Yes.
And when you're talking immigration, there are different forms of immigrants that CA is being very disingenuous about, even to the point where he now talk about just what's going on with passports in terms of corruption. You're talking our jewel here. We're talking our land. So let's make common sense commentary so we can really address it properly. I eat tofu. I eat roti. I eat. Why is you think every Bahamian griot and all of these other things that you're talking about? That doesn't mean nothing. So that shouldn't even be a part of the discussion, because we eat all sorts of different dishes. It's the Bahamas. But my point in respect to immigration, when you're talking foreigners, you're talking persons who would have cleared customs and immigration, who are paying taxes, persons who are on work permit, persons who are doing things. Then you have the illegal immigrant, which is something totally different.
That is different.
Totally different. So you can't. What we've been doing over the years, schools, we have been equating the two.
That's right. That's what
everybody up as
right
a foreigner.
Right.
Which is totally wrong. You have to do it. If you're going to put everybody as let's shut down immigration department. There shouldn't be a need for it no more now. If you're just going to treat everybody as foreigners, when you come. Our Constitution is clear. Is very clear.
Yes.
And it cannot give credence to illegality. It cannot. And when we are talking here, Scrooge, and I would believe when you're talking about 73, I believe they were referring to, the framers of that Constitution were referring to persons residing in the Bahamas who were part of a British colony.
Yes.
British colony.
Yes.
Haiti is a French colony.
Yes. You're right.
So we have been mashing up the two.
Yes.
If the Constitution wasn't speaking to you, then the only way you should be able to acquire our documents if you clear customs and immigration initially. More or less land. Let's be real. So we need to now address our illegal immigration problem to make sure that before we give out anything, those documents were acquired the right way. If you follow what I'm saying.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But CA is just talking and talking and talking, but he isn't really looking at. And the reason why there is a kind of distrust, or you would find some acrimony, and I don't agree with everybody, and the way they say things, Scrooge, because I should have prefaced before I say anything. I should have said, when that maiden ship left Africa to start that transatlantic slave trade, there were no Haitians on board. There were no Jamaicans on board and no Bahamians.
They
We
were
were all
Africans.
Africans.
Oh, everyone's African. 12 tribes.
We were all Africans.
12
But then
tribes.
we were dropped off. We were dropped off in different colonies.
Yes, different colonies.
We became Bahamians.
Yes.
They became a part of the French.
Yes,
The Jamaicans became
Yes.
Jamaicans because where they were dropped off.
yes,
But
yes.
we were all Africans.
Yes, sir, yes.
And we were given we inherit a specific piece of rock, and it's our duty to protect this.
Yes.
To protect this rock. There's nothing wrong with it. So you shouldn't be entitled to free this. Yes, the government agreed that we signed on to certain treaties, but what we really need to look here at is our Nationality Act, what is creating all of this problem.
Yes, it
That's
is.
where the problem is, because if our Constitution cannot give credence to illegality, what is giving credence to equality when it comes now for citizenship? They don't look at the Constitution. They
So
look
what
at
the Prime Minister
Nationality Act.
So what the Prime Minister is saying then? He's saying it's in the Constitution. I'm trying to figure out what he's saying myself.
See, we need to look at this thing, and I'm not. I could be wrong. I
Yeah.
could be wrong. I could be wrong, and I'm not really. I
No,
was
we just
thinking about this
talking.
issue before
Yeah.
the Prime Minister comment. I'm not just
Okay.
equating this to his comment. I'm trying to equate this to what we've been doing over the years.
Yes, we have.
That's basically where we are and
Yes.
how we could correct this problem. See, I believe that when you were talking about anyone born in the Bahamas to foreign parents,
Yes.
bear in mind, I said in order to be a foreigner, you have to clear customs and immigration.
Yes.
If I go into the U.S. illegally and they catch me,
You get deported and go to court.
but what they would deport me as, a foreigner or an illegal immigrant or an alien or whatever they want to call me. You think they're going to call me a foreigner?
You are illegal immigrant. Because
Automatically,
you didn't go into
if you're
customs, you didn't go into
automatically,
immigration.
if you're illegal,
Yes.
you're part of some
Yes.
sort of nationality, but they're going to describe you as an illegal immigrant.
Yes.
So, when he says, and we need to believe that our Nationality Act and that what you would call that belongers
Yes.
permit, those things are unconstitutional. Because if you are here illegally, you have a child, let's say the mother gets pregnant, the mother is caught. Unfortunately, our law states that the child should be deported, but the mother, that's what our law says, the child, this is more or less, they try not to separate. But we have people here languishing and being here for 30 years. That doesn't matter. If your papers are not right, you still should be deported to the U.S. Do it every day.
Yes. I said it
They don't
earlier.
care whether or not you've been there for 50, 60, 70 years.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Your status still remains that you're illegal. And you should, and you have to go. So why are we rewarding people because they've been here for so long? Maybe it's like having your home, You have your home. You just decide not to live in the home properly, or it's a very huge home, 15-bedroom home. But just so happen that you just go into your home and you discover that you have some persons living in your home for about 3 years, which you didn't know about. Because they were living there for 3 years now, you can't put them up.
You can put
And
them
that's
out.
your home.
Yes, sir.
It should be basically the same thing. The Bahamas is a home. It's our home.
Yes.
And we need to make sure that those
Protect
persons
it and govern it right.
who are benefiting are persons who are paying taxes in immigration and who are paying taxes while being in the Bahamas. You can't be evading taxes. That's how they had they were able to get a big advantage over Bahamians,
Yes.
Because if you're living basically almost tax-free, where you're not paying for anything
Yeah, all right.
other than to maintain yourself.
All
You know,
right.
the average Bahamian,
Thank
when
you
we get
very much.
18, 19, we got to pay apartment rent, we got to pay light bill, we got to pay water bill. So, but if you are living basically debt-free, you are able to save a bigger chunk of your
Yes.
money.
You make a
I'm
lot of good
able to-
points. You make a lot of good points, and everything you said is basically true. So we like to say thank you very
Yeah, I
much.
appreciate it, but we need to look. But let's discuss immigration in a holistic way and stop just talking about one nationality.
Now, you remember what I said from the show start? I talked about the different nationalities, the Greeks, the Italians, and all who's here around 1973 who were British citizens. So that's what we're talking about. Thank you very much, and you did a wonderful job. Basically, what he's saying you was just adding on to it. I don't think you guys were actually all that off. I think he just probably interpreted a little wrong.
Actually,
but he made
Scrooge,
some-
I
he made
have
some
no
good-
idea what a good gentleman is talking about. We completely parallel in ideas and thoughts. I never spoke on immigration. I spoke on the Prime Minister's commentary, and only on the Prime Minister's commentary. I'm not sure where he came in with his comment, with the caller came in with his conclusion, but I have no idea what he spoke about. The Prime Minister spoke about Haitian Bahamians
Yes.
and owning land. I commented on Haitian Bahamians owning land. So that's the only thing I comment on. But like I said, I appreciate what the Prime Minister is intending, right, to give access to land to Bahamians. But in the narrative that he used, I think is very unfortunate. I think that was politically driven,
Yes.
and I think that it causing a divide that was not necessary, and it is not good for the psyche of Bahamians. And I think that this narrative and its combativeness happens because we fight over scarce resources, and that the Bahamians of Haitian descent, or the Haitian Bahamians and the Haitian nationals living in the Bahamas, because they are the bottom rung. And then we have a large portions of Bahamians who are also at the bottom rung, competing for these same scarce resources.
Because they have a large population, the
Yes.
Haitian national here.
They're
They're the second biggest population.
There are over 100,000.
So they're second to Bahamians, right?
Yes, but listen to the numbers I'm going to call it. There are over 100,000 persons of Haitian descent living in the Bahamas. That's a lot, and this is why they continue to be the
focus.
The focus.
'Cause they're
regarding
second us as
immigration.
Bahamians.
Yes, and then I see he called all of the different ethnic groups and
Greeks and all
Greeks,
that.
whatever
We
it
did
is.
say that. We said that earlier.
But when you compare numbers, when you call 100,000 and you call
Yeah,
500,
not 100,000.
and 100,000,
Yes.
it's a big number,
It's
and
a
a big
big
difference. So
difference.
this is
You're
why
right, you're right.
we concentrate on.
How do
on-
you guys right?
And plus, do you know of any Filipino shantytown,
No,
Greek shantytown,
no.
Jamaican shantytown?
I never heard that before.
See, and this is why the conversation continues to remain on Haitian nationals living inside the Bahamas.
Good point,
And
good point.
Perhaps we need to have a better narrative on how we're going to deal with it and moving forward.
That's what we were just trying to explain.
And this is where we need
We
to
tried to explain it.
And I don't think that the Prime Minister helped.
Not one bit.
Not one bit at all with his saying, I'm going to give Bahamians access, and also those persons who live in Shantytown who happen to be Bahamians of Haitian descent. That is not a conversation that Bahamians appreciate, especially poor Bahamians who are competing for resources.
And like we said, we all come from Africa, and it's not even Africa. We didn't even know Africans. This name African come from the general, the European general who conquered one small part of Africa, and his name was Africanus. So when you're saying Africans, many of us we're not named Africans. You know who we are? We are Ethiopians.
But that's also one part. Remember that Asbania before is Ethiopian. So all that is
All
subjective.
that. All the Middle East.
And that's before me. And if African is the best word that we can use to describe everyone who lives on the continent, I embrace such.
Right.
If
But you know the history?
Negro-
Did you know the history? That
Yeah,
it's
I'm
named
familiar with
after a European general,
yeah.
Africanus, who
Yeah.
conquered one little small part of Africa. So
I
we call it,
understand.
and they name it after him as his prize.
I believe there are only two groups that have their original name besides being conquered by
You want
Europeans.
to take this next call?
And let me just mention this
Go
point. The Chinese was always Chinese, and I think the Indians were always Indians.
Yes.
But everyone else, the Europeans name them. So,
Yes, everybody. You're right. That's what we
They
need
got
to
a name.
understand. Just like I name us Haiti, the Bahamas, Jamaica, and all that stuff.
Yes.
That's the same thing. We all one people, just scattered amongst the Caribbean after we get conquered. Go ahead, caller. You're on Inside in the City.
Good evening, gentlemen. It's a wonderful show.
Go ahead.
I was chiming in. Could you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Yes, I was chiming in on the show, and I understand. I've been listening and understanding the fact that you speak so strongly about the Haitian shanty towns, and you just mentioned that you ever heard about the Jamaican shanty town or this shanty town or that. While the Jamaicans don't have a shanty town, you got one of them renting an apartment, and you got 20 of them living in the apartment, You have the Chinese doing the same thing. So it might not be a shantytown.
But it's a different shantytown.
destination.
But it's a different kind of style of shantytown, would you say?
Exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
okay.
My point.
Yes,
my
sir.
point.
Go ahead.
And they write in our faces. Not only that, what you talk about people coming to the Bahamas illegally. You got the Jamaicans. You got all of the immigrants come to the country legally. They come legally through the system. They only supposed to spend a lot of time the immigration stump them for, and they be here for years and years and years, and
Yes.
decades and decades.
Corruption.
And they're the ones who are not being checked into.
Wow.
But it's easy to grab out the Haitians.
Yeah.
And don't forget, Haitians built this country, roads, buildings, everything, and our government system keep them here for their own ulterior motives.
Yes, and Abaco and stuff like that. Yes, you're
Yes,
correct,
man,
right?
for their own ulterior
Yes.
motives.
No, we don't.
And
Yes.
they went down in the pigeon peas and mud and
Yes.
stand banks and give them papers to vote in the general.
Yes, that's how we get. That's how we getting all this crap now. Yes, sir. You telling the truth. That's how they get the paper. That's how they get the papers. You so.
I'll line up and listen.
Yes, you are so right. You are so right, and I'm glad you calling, son. You made some great points, and that's exactly what happened because when we were campaigning for a specific political party as a street general, as one of the leaders of the streets. We had many persons of Haitian descent here who did not know papers and stuff like that, and guys took them to certain places for them to get sorted out so they could get their voter's card and then they could get their passport in the near future. Yes, that's went on in the country. And you talked about Abaco going back 40, 50, 60 years, and that's exactly what happened. They got the Haitian nationals here from Haiti, and they were working here for many years, and they got their documents sorted by immigration. So it was corruption at the immigration department and corrupted officials over the last 40 years in this country that got us in this mess. You understand? Because the caller is correct. And the previous caller stated that it's not just the Haitian national. No, it's not just the Haitian national. It's the Chinese legacy and their own particular shanty town because they're cooped up in their little small shanty town. And not the shanty town like you were suggesting where it's hundreds of people and thousands of people.
Have you ever been upstairs in a Chinese apartment?
No, sir.
Supposed to have all the amenities. See, my point is,
I understand
we
what you
only
said,
can
man.
speak about what we know.
Yes.
Right? And we grew up in the inner city.
Yes.
We know about compound yards
Yes.
where you go in, and one right on Lewis Street, where we friends we grew up with.
Yes.
Where about 12 families live in one yard.
Yeah, yes.
And they add on whatever it is. So we have our own type of situation, but it's still different from a shanty town.
Yes, sir.
Right? And but the topic today is not necessarily about immigration.
No, we just talking.
know the issues we have about immigration, and I personally, I don't know how we can impact the immigration situation other than lobbying for our leaders to enforce the laws, right? But we are here speaking mostly, and I think intentionally, about what the Prime Minister
Yes,
said.
how
right?
he said it. It's like,
And who is he meaning? Who is he
That's
meaning?
what we're trying to figure out.
And this is what the conversation is about.
Different class.
The Prime Minister himself mentioned a particular grouping of people.
he
didn't mention
it wasn't
Chinese.
us. It wasn't me and you speaking about these things.
No,
it was the Prime Minister.
It wasn't the Chinese Bahamians he was
let's
mentioning.
remind the callers that. Let's
It was
remind the
not
callers.
Greek Bahamians he was mentioning.
Let's remind the callers on that.
It was not Jamaican Bahamians
That
he
the
was
Prime-
mentioning. The Prime Minister
So-
mentioned one ethnic group living inside the
And that was-
shanty town. And
and for-
that particular persons are Haitian Bahamians.
Yes,
So this is what we are speaking about.
We're speaking on what the Prime Minister said.
Yes.
This is nothing that we brought up. This
No.
is what the Prime Minister said. And we were responding because there are Bahamians who got their citizenship in 1973, along with many other different British nationals from British colonies.
And in fact, anyone living inside the Bahamas before 1973 was able to get access
Yes,
to it.
yes,
So
yes.
it's not only British.
no.
And I know one of the callers said that the law was not intending other people. But no, he's adding to the Constitution.
Yes.
And the Constitution is clear.
Yes.
Anyone who lives inside the Bahamas or any other place will get citizenship. In fact, there were no Bahamians before that.
No, it's no Bahamians.
Right? So all of those persons,
No,
even
no,
those people
all
born
them,
here,
yes.
were able to access such.
Yes, that's right.
And we are living here consequence of that. Hopefully more Bahamians would read the Constitution and understand the
it.
Constitution. We know that persons born in the Bahamas by non-Bahamians have a right to apply. Right, I'm not sure what that right to apply means, but they have a right to apply for citizenship, and the authorities, and in fact, citizenship is granted by cabinet, and not by an independent organization.
I hope you hear that.
It's granted by cabinet. So any of those who become Bahamian citizens
Had to go into cabinet.
Had to go into cabinet.
So you think all those persons who got citizenship in the country now, today, went
yes,
to cabinet?
all gone to cabinet. Some manner or reason, they all went to cabinet and was given citizenship.
Then we should use a backlog to check and check the family line, the family tree. Then we'd see.
But mind you, in every country where have immigration and immigration problems, there's corruption and there are people who go under the table to get things.
All right.
And we're hoping that
it stops.
Not necessarily stops, because it will continue.
Yes.
Just the same thing with the drug trade will continue no matter how much you change.
Just try to regulate it.
My point is you police it.
Police it.
Minimize
you
it.
Can't stop it, but police it.
Police it and minimize it as much as you can. But one of the issues I have is, how is it possible for you to become a Bahamian citizen living in a shanty town? It's supposed to be impossible. Now, I have no problem granting you a Bahamian citizenship if you are warranted to get it. But you have to be living in a regularized
home or something.
You would say, hey,
subdivision.
You are eligible to become a citizen. I see that you've been here for whatever length of time and the requirements, you met all the requirements, but I see that your address suggests that you live in a shanty town. Unfortunately, until you get a regular house, you cannot get a Bahamian citizenship. And how are you able to get a work permit? And when you get a work permit, and on there they ask where you live, and you write, I live in a shanty town, an illegal environment. Something must be wrong with that. And the problem with that is not the immigrants who are poor people, because poor people tend to do whatever they take to survive. The problem is with law enforcement not being able to police their own system. And that is our problem. How is it that persons could get a work permit, and how is a person could get citizenship living inside a shanty town?
And we want to send a message clear. We are all from Ethiopia, or the home we call Africa.
Ethiopia, that's been further up north. I don't claim them. I'm West African. I'm West African to Igbo.
All right.
You might call us Igbo, but you ain't gonna call me no Ethiopian.
All right.
Okay, that's a different tribe.
Okay. Because it's 12 tribes, so Judah.
Well, I ain't even know about that either. That's the Pan-African, not Pan-African. That's those
whatever it is.
Those black Hebrew Israelites talk, and I don't embrace that either. Right. They kind of peculiar.
So the point we are saying is that we understand that we all brothers and sisters from Jamaica, Haiti, Trinidad, and Tobago. And like you said, we got this name Bahamas when we get dropped off in each particular settlement, which we call country or island.
Yes.
Bahamas, Jamaica, Trinidad, and Tobago. Okay, so we just want to send a message out there. We ain't trying to separate. These are the comments that the Prime Minister made, and we want to respond and trying to figure out what he's trying to do. Is it because the election, if he's trying to sway that particular electorates who have a high volume of registered voters to swing them to say that he's going to give them special benefits in order to get a vote to win the next general election. So we're going to take this next call, and then this will be our final call for the night. Go ahead, caller. You're on Inside Inner City.
Yeah, Squishy.
Hey.
Yeah, what's going on CA Nui? So CA Nui telling me I ain't Bahamian because I born before 64. That's just a joke, but hey, Mr. Nui.
Blessings, inshallah.
You know, when Dwight had read it, this one I had called, but you know what the real integral question was? They said the day before the ark. So if someone came here 2 or 3 days before the ark was passed, that means there's a Bahamian citizen. See, there's all kind of loopholes in this antiquated type laws of the past, the colonial laws, and so our minds are still colonial, I guess. It's like the Stockholm syndrome, right? You see what I'm saying? But even when you look into the legalities as far as how long someone should be in a shanty town, it's not even what the general consensus is. Because I remember when the courts passed the injunction. But I think Michelle Malcolm had mentioned on a show today about the Prime Minister's statements, what you and Scoozy's talking about, but I didn't hear it verbatim. So when I hang up, I'd like for you all to really say what he said. But we know he's targeting a specific group, ethnic group, right?
Yes.
But we all come from Africa, Scoozy, but C.A. Nui, he called the Igbo and the Herubus and the Malinki and the Mandinka and the Mandingo, right? But remember now, some of these names You know, that's why we need ANCU to keep us orientated, because
Yes.
this African history is kind of complex. You know, some of these names were given by Europeans. Take, for instance, the tribe you know as the Pygmy.
See?
They're really known as the Twa.
Why you talk about that, Nuri? Dr. Nuri?
Yeah, so you see, the Pygmy tribe is really known as the Twa, and they have different ethnic groups within the Twa.
Yes.
You know, but you know, the thing is with this immigration issue, I like how you and C Nuri making some hard hitting points, right? But to be honest with you, with my psychological outlook on what the future holds, it's going to be very dark and grim for the whole world, you know,
Yes.
because it's just what it is. They're going to make it look like the economy recover, and then they're going to have a third wave. Because the reason why they keep saying third wave, because they know these waves are coming. Just go online and look at the email with the MP from Canada leaked about the Great Debt Reset, man.
Okay.
It means some deep thing.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And we like to say thank you to all the callers, because you guys did a wonderful job. Everyone contributed, well. And we like to have a conversation. You know, we have to be open, because we are talking some real serious facts. I mean, we're talking some serious facts. You know, and again, to the Bahamian people who reside here and those of Haitian descent living in the country, we have no quarrel with you guys. You know, we just want to make sure that when the Prime Minister speaks, he don't bring discord if he's speaking to a specific set of Bahamians. Because in Nuri State, we have Greek descendants here staying in the Bahamas. We have Italians. We have British. You know, we have Bahamians Americans who live in the states between here and America. You know, we have Haitians who are Bahamians who were Haitian nationals who now are Bahamians who have descendants from Haiti. So we are a mix of different ethnic groups of different culture of people living in our country. So we have to be accepted for what we are, but at the same time, like you said, we have to protect the Bahamas. We have to protect the Bahamas with our law, because we can't let people infiltrate our country. And then what's going to be for our children who live in here, who we classify as Bahamian? That includes everyone who has a Bahamian passport. So we can't let that be jeopardized because of some people's stupidity and greed, like the immigration department that actually grants these specific documents when the person never landed to the airport or landed the docks to even be classified as a resident or etc. You know, there's been a lot of corruptions going on in this country, and that's why today we kind of mixed up. So, Mr. Nuri, our final take. Let me read something. This is going to be important. I like this. It's about immigration too. The Court of Appeal held a rare full court hearing yesterday to consider Supreme Court Justice Ian Wilder's historic ruling that children born out of wedlock to Bahamian men and foreign women are citizens at birth and do not have to apply for citizenship at the age of 18. I mean, honestly speaking, I have no problem with that, because I believe that if you're a Bahamian, neutralize Bahamian woman, neutralize Bahamian men, and if I'm not married and I have a child with an American, or I have a child with a Canadian, vice versa, the woman have a child, and I'm a citizen of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, then definitely my seed is me, and that's my child, because my child carry my last name. So I don't have no problem with that, as long as I'm not a legal person with illegal documents. No, sir. But if I'm a Bahamian from birth, from 1973, yes, I have no problem with that. And they should really reinstate it. Because my son lives in the States. His mom got pregnant over here. She's an American citizen. She got pregnant over here. When she's ready to have him, she said that she didn't want to go to the Princess Margaret Hospital, so she said that she wanted to have him in the States. Now, she's an American citizen, but she's a Bahamian. At first, her mom was living here in the country, and before she was born, her mom left with her. But she came back to visit. So she ended up living with my son. Now they've been living over there he stayed about 2-3 years over here, and then they moved to the United States of America. So is my son an American, or is my son a Bahamian? He should have dual citizenship.
That's your son.
That's my son.
That's
He's
your
a
son.
Brown. His name is Valentino Brown.
He's a Brown.
So
I know the Browns them. They live off East Street and Market Street, man. So definitely. But I know we're about to close out.
No, we get a couple more
A
minutes.
couple more minutes. I want to make a comment about.
What you think about that?
Yeah, and actually, that is very astounding. And I'm surprised that didn't get more play. And I
Want me to read
assume-
some more?
Yeah, but I want to make this point. I want
Go ahead.
to make this point. We need to define or distinguish whether there's a difference between being Bahamian and having a Bahamian citizenship,
Yes.
right? I believe that Bahamian citizenship trumps being the term Bahamian. See, and that's controversial. That's controversial because Bahamians in general believe that some such thing as born Bahamian, and there's something, again, what's called paper Bahamian. But the Bahamian citizenship is a constitutional status. It's a constitutional status, and we are a constitutional construct. We exist because the Constitution exists, right? So the term Bahamian citizenship is so powerful and works
Yes.
so much because it's enacted in law. You know, it makes us who we are, what we are,
So you're
because
saying
we
that-
are created through the Constitution.
So you say that's us?
Yes. So technically, I'm a Bahamian citizen,
Yes.
right? Because I have a Bahamian citizenship. And when people say I'm a Bahamian, that is something lesser and watered down. But because of nationalistic pride, we believe that there is worth to the term Bahamian, and that this Bahamian term supersedes the Bahamian citizenship, which also embraces persons who have been nationalized and persons who have been granted citizenship. I'm saying that the term citizenship makes everything or makes all person who possesses that of value and of worth, and makes all those people equal. You cannot be more equal because you were actually born here, in contrast to someone who came in later and get the certification or citizenship.
Like Rome, like how Rome had it.
Yes. So once you have that citizenship, you are entitled to all of the
perks.
the perks,
The crown land,
yes,
et
the
cetera.
crown land, the
healthcare,
the resources.
yes, not the
because
land.
I know we're talking about the natural resources. So once you get that passport and become a naturalized Bahamian,
Proper way.
you get that too. So I understand the prime minister saying, "Oh, the land is eligible to them too," and I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that once you get your citizenship.
Okay, we're going to take this final call. A caller, we're going to give you about 2 minutes, so please be quick about it. We don't want to deny your opportunity to have a voice on the airwaves tonight. So go ahead, caller.
Good night. How you doing, sir?
I'm fine, sir.
Mr. New, how you doing, too?
Inshallah, blessings to you.
Okay. Now, what I have learned, I want to know if I have learned right and understand right. Like, before we become independence, right, we was British subjects,
Yes.
right? And then after 73, that's when we all became Bahamians. That's true or
Yes.
not true?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I ain't up in there, y'all talk, because I ain't going to beat up your time, brother.
Yes, and in
Explain,
fact,
too. I got to listen to the radio.
Yes, sir.
before 73, there was no Bahamas.
There was no Bahamas.
There was the Bahama Islands.
That's right.
West Indies. They
Right.
had the WI afterwards, and then the Constitution constructed the term Bahamian and the Bahamas, and then we became Bahamians.
Bahamians.
And our history of what is Bahamian started in 73 and moved
Right.
forward. So,
So we got rid of all national. We got rid of the
Yes,
Greek.
all
We
of
got
that,
rid of the
all of that.
Haitian. We got rid of the Jamaican. We got rid of the
but that
Trinidad and Tobago.
but that doesn't diminish the
That means
need
that-
for hyphen ethnic groups
Yes.
who live in the Bahamas.
Yes.
Because I see, does an Indian who were born in the Bahamas stop being Indian?
No, he's still a descendant.
Still Indian.
He's still a descendant. It's just that we have a new country. We
Yes.
have a new country,
But-
and we forming a new nation, like America.
And surely that Indian is an Indian Bahamian.
Yes.
Because you've passed him said that by Indian.
Yes, because even
That's what you see first, but he's Bahamian still.
Because in America, it was made of Greeks, Romans, British, and the natives, and combined together, they created a great country called the United States of America. I don't know how great it is now.
Still the greatest country.
Think so?
Yes.
No, man. Not right now. They fought from grace.
You think so?
Yeah, man, they fought from grace.
Okay.
They fought from grace last 10, 15
No,
years.
no. Still the greatest country.
No.
What country greater than them?
What country greater than that?
Just give me one.
Let me show you the country.
Just give me one.
Let me give you a good country.
Go ahead.
The Bahamas.
Okay, but we ontologically
At least I don't have to worry about. I have to worry about the police just a little bit.
a little bit. You were scared.
But in the States, I have to worry about Ku Klux Klans disappearing. They're
yeah.
out. There are hundreds of thousands of black people going missing with their organs missing.
I
I've never
understand.
been seen before. We have police brutality where we have cults.
The fair's
We have-
real. The fair's
we have
real.
the leaders of the country. It's not a sensible leader for you to say this is a leader like how we saw Barack Obama, we see President George Bush. You know, they was decent. President Ronald Reagan, Sir Lyndon Pillen here in the country. You know, we had so.
But Scrooge, I want to remind you that we are ontologically Americans also. We are part of the Americas.
They learn from us.
They share our culture.
They learn
we
from
share
us.
their
Hold on.
culture. We share their
Listen now.
how they view what they watch
Yes.
on TV. All of that is a part of us. So yes, the United States still remains the greatest
Listen.
country in the world because we are also Americans.
And listen to this. What if I told you that America's system built off the Bahamas? We have a longer governance system than America. They had to learn from us. Christopher Columbus landed in the Bahamas. He didn't land in America.
Okay.
And you know where he learned the laws from?
He learned
We
the
have
laws
we have the second oldest parliament in the world. Only one place have an older parliament than us, and that's Great Britain.
And in the Western,
And America learned off
Western
us.
Hemisphere.
America learned off us.
Mm-hmm.
And then over the years, when they got great, but the Bahamas is great, because every movie you watch, they talk about the Bahamas. Even every country in the world speaks about how many movie you hear. Wire transfer. I'm going to visit the Bahamas. Russia, Germany, France. Why? England.
We are definitely a great country, and we need to celebrate ourselves
So
more instead of diminishing ourselves.
There's no country is mentioned more than Hollywood in Hollywood movies or Chinese movies or whatever movie than the Bahamas.
And we need to remind ourselves about that.
That's right. That should show you how great we are. You know, and you're right. You know.
No, that's
But-
good. And I yield. And
Yeah.
we should remind ourselves that we are a great
because
nation.
every movie you watch, they talk about the Bahamas when it comes to embezzlement money, when it comes to where they're going to go to live, you know, or where they're going to hide, or where they're going to live like a king or queen. The Bahamas. So we got to be the greatest country in the world. Yeah.
Yes, we are.
All right. So let me see where we are in Mr. Nuri. Yeah. So we talked a little about the Prime Minister's remark. And let's be honestly speaking. Do you think he is doing this now to get people from the Bahamian Haitian community who have voters card to help persuade them or entice them by saying that they're entitled to land in our country?
I do not know the Prime Minister's mind. Like I said before, preempting what I'm going to say now, I genuinely believe the Prime Minister means well.
Yes.
I think that he came out of our community. He understands what it takes to survive as a poor person. And also Philip Brave Davis, he came out of our community and know what it is takes to survive.
What community they come out?
They come right out of Grandstand.
Let me get this one.
Beans
Go
and
ahead.
Grandstand, man. They come right out of there.
Menace come from here.
And-
His daddy was Menace. If the area was poor, right? The area was poor,
Yeah,
but his
go ahead.
daddy was a businessman, right?
Yeah,
His
yeah.
daddy was a business. Hustle for what he want. You know, now listen, don't get me wrong. His daddy deserve every penny he get because you have to have a vision. You have to have determination to go and make something happen. He was smart enough to invest his money in a small business, and that's with his gas station. But at that time, that business was one of the biggest businesses in the country and accumulated a lot of wealth. Now, Menace could have grown up in the community, but that don't mean he was poor. Because we had many people who were rich in the community and their children lived in the community, but they were not poor. Mind you, there were families who were rich living in the community. Now, don't get it twisted now, Mr. Nuri.
Hood Richie.
Hood rich. They were hood rich now, Mr. Nuri. So Menace, yes, but he didn't have a hard life. Because his
had a
daddy
hard
owned, if your daddy owned a gas
He was a
station,
packing boy and he sell newspaper.
of course, because your daddy would always encourage you to go out and work. Just like us, we had grandparents, but they tell us to go be parking boys or sell peanut. They told us to hustle. It was not about your parents could have been rich, but they wasn't going to give you the gold spoon. They're going to tell you have to clean the yard to get certain stuff. But nowadays, we give kids anything we want, but we had to wait for what we want. That's right. His daddy told him, and he had the insight to go out there and fend for yourself. Nah, I have your back covered, but go out there and learn how to hustle like the rest of the boys. Nah,
Yes.
I can say he lived like that, but don't say he lived
Poor.
Poor, no.
So you don't like the narrative of him?
No, he can't be
Brave Davis
classified as poor.
Poor. You didn't understand poverty.
Brave Davis is my cousin. Listen,
Yeah.
I get to hear his history. You know, I get to hear the history when my auntie was sitting down. She told me about the Davis them and stuff like that. And I
So
heard his
were they
family.
poor?
Yeah, they were poor.
So Brave Davis is poor, but not necessarily human
No,
menace.
not minutes. How could he be poor if his daddy owned a gas station? Tell me, let me hear this
It
right.
was a small gas station.
Small gas station.
It was a small gas station.
Where everyone else was living in the community.
We was living inside the shacks.
Now we're not
And the
knocking
clapboard
on
house.
we're not knocking on his father's success now because I'm proud of his success because I always encourage persons to go out there and try to open your small business. And you see how successful this business came about. And that was able to help Minister to go to be a doctor. Do you think he went and get a doctor office and one? Let me ask you a question. Let me get this now. Without his father owning the gas station, let me see.
He was able to get 1 or 2 scholarships because he was smart.
But how you get,
Because he's smart.
and who put him to school?
I assume that he's...
No, it's his daddy put him to school.
His old lady
So
paid,
his old lady-
pay
so-
for that.
Huh?
Next thing you can call me rich because we going to the same high school. See, I don't like how you...
I say he rich. I'm not saying he rich, but I'm saying he had opportunity based on
Opportunities.
his... That's
He was
right.
blessed.
Yeah, he was blessed through his father and his mom. Great
And
parents.
God blessed him, and let's say that
Yeah,
was,
so
it
don't-
had only to do with God.
So no disrespect to the prime minister. We don't want to hear that crap. All right? We don't want to hear... Yes, you grew up in the community,
Yeah,
but
he
you were
grew
not
up next door
poor.
to us, right
like
down the
the
road.
poor, like how we was poor.
But his house was clapboard just like our house.
Yeah, but Clapboard House was a high-tech house back in the days. We was living Huts Voice, you forget, with
Yeah.
coconut touch and all them stuff, brother.
Yeah, but, you know, the man says he's poor, he's poor.
All right, then.
But-
Let's take it from there, then.
Yeah,
Say,
he's,
we can
he's
take
poor.
it from there.
He's working class like the rest of us.
So
He
what
had
you
a
gonna
hustle.
do now for the poor people?
And this is
since you were poor and you
this is
understand
the
all these things, you grew up in the community with all this poorness. You see all the poor people sleeping on the side of the road. You seeing all the poor people's house rotten. You seeing this, and you said that when you become prime minister, you was going to deal with the poor. You experienced this since you was a poor youth. Since you was a poor youth, and you grow up in this particular community where you see poor people struggling for years and years and years. Now you have an opportunity. You became a doctor, but you said that you wanted to help people. You born a lot of babies in the world. You did good. Now that you go into politics, you said that if you become the prime minister of the country, that you dedicate yourself to the poor. Now you get the prime minister post now. You start a great program. You started a part of a great program
Yes.
over the initiative. Would have started in 2012,
So far, the only
2013.
leader to do such. But so you give him credit for that.
Hold on.
That park
Listen,
looked nice,
you
eh?
started, yes.
You don't like that park?
But hold on. Those things were done by a group of set of people.
Yeah, but he's a part of that.
Yeah, and he come. Now, like I tell you, I give him credit for initiating my brother.
See, let's stick with
All
that.
right? And we're going to...
Don't you appreciate the park?
Of course, I appreciate
The park on history does not have internet.
Yeah, it has internet.
See, let's talk about the good things.
But
Let's talk about the good things.
these are things that we recommend as citizens
Yes, and
in a partnership agreement with the office of the
Surely
prime minister.
He listened. Did he listen?
Yes.
So let's commend
yes.
him. Let's commend
And I'm
the
commending
prime
him.
minister.
I'm commending him.
You commending him on the slide.
No, but I said if
spanking
you
him at the
said
same time.
no, I'm saying if you say these things right to me, who being there from inception,
Yeah.
being a part of one organization to the next organization, being a part of many of the ideas that we talk about, we are doing, and some ideas are happening now as a combination. I'm saying that, Prime Minister, dedicate yourself.
Yes.
Dedicate yourself to say, look here.
Send him an email.
Say, let me build 1,000 homes before my time is up. You know, in the subdivision.
Will he give him the $15,000 house? Property soon.
Yes,
and
that
the
is great.
$15,000
We're not gonna
I just
knock
would
that.
need to know when.
Right.
And hopefully that's not. I didn't say well after the election. I would hopefully that started now and give him his access.
And even though, like you said, we could be mad with the prime minister or whoever it is, remember, there are still good programs that government has put forth that you as a Bahamian can benefit from. So you had a small home program. Go and check up on this.
Yes.
If you get a husband and you get a wife or you get a boyfriend and girlfriend, and
Go take advantage.
Go take advantage.
Go
You
get
see,
that
because there's some
$15,000
great- This is a
property.
great program. This is a plus to the prime minister.
Run and go
Prime
get it.
Minister. Go and do this, okay? You
And
need to go
commend
do
the
this.
prime minister for the idea because
I
no
know.
one has done it before.
Yes.
That $15,000 is some good
Yes,
money
yes,
to go run and go
yes, Yes, and that means he do care. But I saying be more passionate about it. You talked about that if you become the prime minister second time that you would share out the leadership with Deputy Prime Minister Desmond Bannister, and you would focus more on the poor. See, yes, the only reason we're saying these things and criticizing the prime is because we know that he could have been doing these things from day one.
Yes.
Okay? We don't want to hear these things now, but it's still at the
And
end
so
of the
close to
day,
the election.
And it's so close to the election. You're talking about homes for Haitian, Bahamians, and etc. But we kind of mix up on who you're trying to refer to here, or it's because the election, so it's kind of confusing.
It is confusing.
It's very confusing because we have Bahamians who are legit Bahamians who didn't come here illegally, and they're being.
But the Haitian Bahamians ain't coming illegal. They naturalized. They Bahamians.
And they naturalized. So we're trying to figure out what's going on here. And then we have those who got their paperwork done illegally in the country and become Bahamian.
That ain't have nothing to do with us as immigration issue.
I know.
So
I
we ain't
said,
gotta talk about that.
But that's they included also because
No, they ain't including this.
Because if they get documents, then they're entitled to.
Yes, but if
So we're saying all
but that's
these
a
things.
police and an immigration issue.
They're
Don't
not gonna
stress
deal-
yourself about it.
They're not going to deal with it because they have not been able to deal with it from then.
Yes, but at the same time, if they
Yes.
contributing and doing well for the Bahamas.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying I'm all for that.
Yes. So,
I'm not. I'm
let's
I'm
talk.
not trying to deny them.
Let's allow those people who the government has naturalized to get what is due to them because they are Bahamian citizens.
That's
and
right.
If you have Bahamian citizens naturalized by the government, they deserve all rights that
Well,
is
tell your prime minister to be very specific and explain exactly what he's saying
Yes.
when he go to a particular setting.
Yes.
Because a certain setting
Yes.
of Bahamian nationals are not there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
When the Honorable Frankie Campbell is interpreting, I don't understand, and many of us don't understand
He
what
wasn't talking to you though.
who he's talking
The
to.
people who's translating for.
What? How? You said they're not involved, but that's the minister and that's the prime minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
It's a particular segment of Bahamians he's speaking to at that particular time.
Boy, you get remote.
I just trying to say. I just said.
You do it. Use a real boy. Use a real.
Sometimes you gotta switch up. You gotta switch up the conversation and go left when you're going right. It's called a shuffle.
Yes. We can't take no more callers tonight. We're completely out of time. Mr. Nuri, one thing I can say about you, you're very intelligent. I'm very intelligent. I think that we give the Bahamian people a real show. I know everyone home is listening. We knock some real good points. And I want to also tell the Bahamian people we are very intelligent. And I want the Bahamian people to also know that we put a lot of programs out there that you see government are doing now. Started right in the head of the same gentleman you're talking to in studios today. So we know a lot what's going on in the country. And last but not least, let's talk about Abaco. You know, we talked about it last week, and we make reference that there were complaints saying that many houses were springing up in the Shantytown areas of Abaco, Marshall, Abaco, and stuff, places that were hit with the hurricane. And some are legitimate homeowners. I don't know if they get the right permit, but I guess they got the right permit. And then there are some who are illegal, building their homes in the Marshall area and areas that were affected from a devastating hurricane. And Mr. Nuri, how is it that we just had a hurricane, right? And the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas said that no one can build in this particular area, right? Mm-hmm. And there were reports of criminal activities, of stealing, breaking in people's homes, or stealing generators. Even when supplies are sent from the capital, they were going missing. So we deployed Defense Force officers and great officers from the Royal Bahamas Police Force. But at the same time, we are seeing fires sprung up in Abaco. That was a few months ago. But now we are seeing an increase in illegal immigrants landing in Abaco and going undetected, as the Minister of National Security stated. Now, we spoke up on the show last week, Friday, about protecting the border. Why isn't Defense Force officers and Royal Bahamas Police officers is not stationed in Abaco, you understand, on a regular basis? Because those homes and illegal immigrants coming into the family island of Abaco would have been manned by Royal Bahamas Police Force and Defense Force officers. So they were supposed to be stationed. They were supposed to have tents. They have the latest equipment. They have the drone. They have the Defense Force boat park up in Odin Seas and Marshall station, not going and coming back station. And then you have the Defense Force officers deployed around the island. And then you have police officers along with Defense Force officers who, during the lockdown, will be patrolling the Marshall, asking for identification. Because we have to check everyone in Abaco, because right now we have an influx of illegals. We just saw a hurricane go on where we couldn't get an estimate on how many people died in the hurricane. We can't take it from the Prime Minister. We can't take it from the disaster repair department. Eh? We can't even take it from the Ministry of Health. We got 3 different numbers of how much persons died in the hurricane. So you know what that says to us? It says to us that there were so many illegal, undocumented persons living in Abaco that we couldn't give a count for. Would you say that?
I would say that.
We couldn't even get, and people saying it was in 100, but it was in thousands, and people still are missing to this day. So why is it we didn't make it a national issue to say, hey, we got to put our defense force officers here, we got to put our police, and they're mobilized, we got to build mixed shape police stations, and we're going to wire the police with the best of the equipment to man. And also, we're going to build a little small detention center that we can hold anyone who is illegally or anyone who commits crime. We got all this, on Marshall Abaco. What you got to say about that?
I have no explanation on what happened, on what went wrong, and why it went wrong. The leaders currently has not provided us any explanation on what went wrong and how it happened. And I have to wait for that. I sincerely believe the people of Abaco has a duty to respond to the government and the powers that be that they are not pleased. Election is close enough. I believe they need to respond in kind and make their members of parliament answerable, make their ministers answerable, ministers of immigration, minister of national security answerable, and they need to demand action. I would assume that there should have been a local task force.
That is stationed.
No, I'm talking about the residents.
Yes.
In terms of responding to the government of things they need, things that is not working, why it's not working, and lobbying the government constantly. I assume that there should have been a newspaper coming out of Abaco by now expressing their views or their disappointment and encouraging the government to do better. I expected there to be pickets and people protesting, but Abaco is quiet. And if Abaco is quiet and I live all the way to Nassau and I am concerned, and if they're not concerned, who am I to complain? My conclusion is the people of Abaco are seemingly quite content with what is happening in Abaco. And this is why people are able to build Shantytown with 3-ton, generators, which need a big truck crane to carry it there, electricity, new infrastructure being built. It's being built because the people of Abaco clearly is condoning it. And that's what the problem. The authorities are condoning it because the people bypass the authority. That's immigration, customs, and police, and defense force officers. And the people who live in Abaco are condoning it because they watch these things happen because they haven't addressed it nor reported to officials to say, well, I reported yesterday that these people weren't living there and now they live in there because it's one road. You could just drive past these things and something is wrong.
So you try to tell me it's one road and we have all this defense force, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force and the Royal Bahamas Police Force with all these police cars and all this. And one road, we can't man one road, one straight road?
You put a traffic stop, a barricade, you can detain every illegal immigrant in the whole island.
So when the generators go missing, they had to go and this
is not an ordinary generator. This generator bigger than this whole room.
Them $10,000 generator?
Yes,
but them big.
Them big boys. Them $40,000 generator is in the shanty town.
So it had to go on a tractor trailer or something.
Yes. See, we got to picture this. Imagine this tractor trailer driving through Abaco.
Through all the roadblocks with the defense force officer standing up.
Yeah, something's wrong.
They must be on sleep breaking.
I don't know.
I guess they must be tired.
Or they obey that machine would so they couldn't see it no more. But something is wrong. And I believe that something that is wrong is corruption and collusion, and someone needs to be answerable. And the people of Abaco fall lax and they didn't police themselves, and now they're dealing with the situation now. There was a problem from way back then where they watched the situation become overwhelming, and it was briefly policed due to Hurricane Dorian, and people saying, okay, at least with Dorian we get able to still solve a problem, and we see that the problem has returned
Look
by
like it be
them.
worse.
It might be worse because I don't think they can move these people. There's no political will, especially now during election.
Election time.
You can't be
So this-
you can't be breaking down people's shantytown during no election.
Because
right?
they get Bahamian relatives who would vote against the government.
So definitely don't expect from now until the election. I don't
get it.
expect not one shantytown to be destroyed or anything.
And that's the thing what I talked about. The minute it was exposed about Abaco, then the Prime Minister come make that statement. That's why I say it seems so fishy at this particular time.
Yes.
You know, knowing that a lot of legal stuff is going on that we approve of the legal stuff. But the illegal stuff, man, look like the legal stuff trumps the legal stuff. Look like it should be doing illegal in the country, and then when you do legal, you get locked up. But if you break the law, you can get away. That's what it look like.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
So all we are saying is we can understand, and also in Andres, you know, if people want to build homes and etc., then make sure that the regulation are standard. Make sure that the floor level is up. They building it with blocks or T111. Make sure that there's bathroom. Make sure that it's spaced off. We want houses close together because
All that.
See, because we can't put houses together no more. Once the houses together no more, one fire start, then everything catch a fire. And that was the big problem with the hurricane. If those houses were spaced, I mean, they couldn't stop it, but I mean, that was like,
Now, mind you, I assume in Abaco, when we're talking about the Abaco situation, there are 1 or 2 or 3 persons living there who have Bahamian status, who have built a shanty house, and to whatever degree. I am minded to allow them to get first option to purchase that segment of land. You can't get it for free.
Yes.
You can't be squatting just because you're Bahamian and you're sitting there. I believe you could, even if you get a discount, say, well, you have status, you're Bahamian, I can let you have this cheaply because we're trying to empower you, whatever it is. I can close my eyes to that, no, right? But if you are a undocumented person, you cannot get access to Bahamian land at all. It's not an option.
No.
We have to knock down the shanty town, and if you say you do not have any place to live, and you tell me that point blank, note that I will detain you, and then we'll have to get deported so you can find some place to live, but just not here.
made some great points. I want to thank everyone who listened to Inside and seen on Friday. I'm your host, Valentino Brown. We have talked to Siri Nuri in studios. Mr. Nuri, you want to say anything before we go? Because we completely out
You
of time.
soon start having people believing I'm a real doctor and calling me to give advice on things, you know?
Well, you're a doctor because you're very intelligent. You give some good answers to the country's problem. And if we were not talking positive, the average would have been calling in and saying we're doing a terrible job. So we have to be making some good points. I think we made some valid points. I think we explained what's going on in the country. You had to call our Oxford 1973. If people don't know, we were a British country, before 1973, okay? We became the Bahamas 1973, okay? And then we all decided that we become an independence and we combine all the nations who were part of the Commonwealth and those who were not a part of the Commonwealth to become Bahamian citizen and became the Bahamas. So that's how we are. And that's Greek, Italians, British, Jamaicans, Haitian, Trinidadians, and etc. All over here. And we became Bahamian people. So we're not fighting against no particular race. Okay? We're just stating the fact that when the Prime Minister said what he said, and he means good. Okay? We just wanted him explain it more. So Prime Minister, when you're speaking and you're talking nationally about these issues, explain step by step for us, so that we don't confuse and we don't discriminate our brothers and sisters because it feels like we're trying to fight against one another or fight down one another, or we're not entitled to this on this one is entitled to this and this one is not entitled to that. If you're legit, you're entitled to it. But at the same time, we can have compassion, and having compassion knowing that if you go through the proper way, the government of the Bahamas and the Bahamian people will consider you to become a part of our country. But coming here illegally, if you're Greek, you're Chinese, you're Italian, Jamaican, we can't deal with it no more. It's too much screen on our healthcare system, you know, and for us Bahamians who are really suffering in the country. Okay? And I want to say this to everyone who's listening. We are here to speak on matters that needs to be speaked on. I want to thank Dr. C. Nuri, my producer Ali Road, Guardian Radio, for allowing us to have this time to speak to you guys. So, please, just have a wonderful night, and we'll see you next week on Inside the Inner City.
If you find fire, you definitely find smoke. Payton, bro. Boy, I from Payton, bro.
Ah, my son, that boy, what happened?